So, Andrew, I guess Mr. Motivator's main point there against the licence plates is that it might put off those casual cyclists who we want to start cycling so that they get some exercise.
I would have thought it was in the interest of Mr. Motivator to have cyclists who are cycling more safely, because that's in the interest of everybody, Dan. We want cyclists to observe the highway code. We don't want them going up one-way streets the wrong way. We see it all the time. Why are they cycling on the pavement when they've got all these wretched cycle highways everywhere, which is very bad if you're walking. They come up behind you. You could walk into them at any time. What's most important here is the safety of road users, and that's going to be improved dramatically if cyclists have to have a number plate. It's a no-brainer, and I hope the government get on with it quickly, and we're quite right to. Every cyclist should wear a helmet, because why should the NHS have to pay for people who suffer injuries which could possibly be prevented if they're wearing a helmet?
I mean, Dave Sherry,
I don't think we're disagreeing, Andrew. Sorry, I'm saying I don't think we're disagreeing, Andrew. I think we are agreeing. I'm just saying that I don't think that we need to have a number plate on the back of a bike. I'm saying that every single cyclist, before you get on top of that bike, you must do some kind of test.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Dave Sherry, do you accept the fundamental thrust of Andrew Pearce's point, which is that cyclists, especially in big cities, are incredibly arrogant and the vast majority pick and choose when they follow the rules?
Yeah, but there's an old saying, natural selection. If you don't want to follow or adhere to the highway code, you're going to end up possibly seriously injured. The health benefits are a top. And basically, I'll tell you a little story. And it happened about 7 years ago. And I was hit by no fault of my own by an uninsured HGV Arctic lorry. And basically, he left the scene. So that left me with a permanent disability. Now, all manner of vehicles kill. Cyclists do kill. Single figures, though. But the thing we have to understand is the biggest killer out on the road at the moment are car drivers. The highway code changed to adapt for the vulnerable road users. You had too much of a good time and you whinged then and you are whinging now. And you need to just get with the routine now and understand that cyclists do not emit an emission, so they don't have to pay road tax or its visual emissions. We don't need insurance because we're not considered under the Road Traffic Act as a motorised vehicle. And we're like anyone else, like horse riders, mobility and pedestrians, we're trying to get from A to B.
So, Andrew, you're just whining, according to Dave Sherry. You're just whining. Look, this guy was actually hit by a motor vehicle. He's been permanently disabled, and you are moaning, Andrew Pearce.
I am moaning, and I'm going to carry on moaning, and I'm surprised Dave won't be a bit more realistic. Look, there's been a massive explosion in the number of cyclists in Britain today. In London in the last 20 years, it's thought to have gone up by 80%. When you have that big an increase, you need to start making other rules. And you've got to put rules in place because they are reckless, the majority of cyclists I see on the roads, and they're not just endangering themselves, Dave, they're endangering pedestrians, other cyclists, motorists who try to avoid them, and get in the back of any black cab and get their view on cyclists. I tell you, you wouldn't be able to put them on this programme, Dan, before the 9 o'clock watershed.
Dave?
Right, now I'm going to tell you another little story. I'm a professional bus driver and have been for 20 years in London. So I understand, and I have a higher standard of driving ability than the average car drivers. So at the end of the day, I choose to cycle for the health benefits. Mr. Motivator knows where I'm coming from. I do 22, 20 back. I don't exercise in my little box of a cab, what I'm doing in my bus. So at the end of the day, you've got to understand the health benefits. I know where you're coming from. I sit on the fence. I choose to cycle, and I go for the idiots who I see on the road on a daily basis. I understand the concerns of car drivers, but
why are you so opposed to the licensing then? That's what I don't understand.
Who's going to pay for this? Chaps will say whatever he wants, but on the next reshuffle, he's gone. Who's going to foot the bill? Who's going to foot this bill? DVLA? They can't handle nothing. You know how long I had to wait for a driving licence?
OK, so you think bureaucracy will slow something like this down, which is possible, but that's not a reason to disagree with it in principle, Mr. Motivator.
If it works, good.
Listen,
can I ask Dave?
Yes, come in, Andrew.
No, I was just going to say, what's Dave's favourite bird? Is it an ostrich by any chance? Because he's got his head firmly buried in the sand here. You can't pretend there's not a huge problem, and there is a huge problem. So this is a very practical way of dealing with it, and I can't, for the life of me, get why you won't get with it.
Dave?
Right, I will get with it, but let's think about it, okay?
I have.
We're talking single figures with regard to fatalities and that for cyclists and that.
Well, that's
but
too
we're
many.
talking endless amounts for motorised vehicles, yeah? Motorised vehicles are the killers.
Well, I feel like I'm going to be killed every day by cyclists, and I want that fear taken away. Final word to you, Mr. Motivator. Sorry, I interrupted there.
Let's do what we can to encourage all the health benefits that's derived from cycling, such as reduces stress, it improves your memory, your cognitive functions, works all the muscles in your lower body. And then let's get people who sit in their cars to get out their cars and start riding a bike, because that's the future.
Oh, my goodness, I don't want any more of them on the road.